Please be seated. In the name of the main character, and of his harem, and of the holy waifu, Kawaii Desu. This is a Radical Rand podcast. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Church of Weeb. Adam aka CS Radical here with you guys, and we are going to go through the fall of 2019 anime episodes 4 to 6. So, last time we started off with 10 shows, we are still at 10 shows, and in fact, nothing has even regressed, everything has gotten better. So, one of the very few rare cases where a season has gotten into its meat and potato stuff now, and yet nothing's fallen, and not even anything's gotten a little bit weaker. Everything's moved up, including shows that I actually thought was going to be a struggle early on. So, we're not going to even waste any time really with it. Let's just get right into it. So the first show from the very top here, Ahiru no Sora. Like I said before, this is a show that I'm very shocked by how much I'm actually enjoying because, generally speaking, when it comes to sports anime, I don't find anything to attach to. And for whatever reason, this one's been working really well. And I think because it's not necessarily going too over the top with it, I think they're doing a very good job of at least pushing a lot of personality with the characters here that's actually attaching to me. And I'm not here going to tell you guys that other shows like Kuroko no Basket and others don't have personality, but for whatever reason, those ones just never clicked, whereas this one's done a fantastic job of doing so. And I couldn't even tell you why, honestly. I don't really have like a perfect answer as to why. It's just been fun. Like that's literally it. So in the last 3 episodes specifically, we saw the journey that Sora and Momoharu, and I guess all the punks, I should say. I kept trying to say goons. I'm like, that's not what the word is. They've been trying to get set for their first ever basketball game together. Obviously, Sora having a lot of trouble convincing them in the first place, but at the end of episode 3, because I didn't want to spoil it now. By the way, I didn't even think about this now. If you've never seen this level of the episodes before, it's all spoilers from here. We're just talking about what happens now. The first episode of every season is meant to be a first impressions to give you guys an idea of whether you should watch something. This is now acting under the assumption that you've watched it, and I've timestamped everything in the comments below. If you're listening on audio, apologies, it's going to be a little bit harder for you guys, but if you're listening to the show, you are going in with the expectation that you've watched the shows or you're keeping up with them, so that's just how it is here. So anyways, what Sora had to do to basically get them to want to play with them was they said, oh, if you go out there into the girls' basketball practice in just your underwear, we'll think about it. And he decided, screw it, I'll trump that to really show it, and he just went full and butt naked, which is like, oh geez, okay. You're probably screwing your chances up with Madoka now because she's probably seen what it's looking like down there, but, you know, it is what it is. But everything works out. The only person who's not interested is Chiaki, obviously Chiaki being the guy who's just like, well, I don't want to look uncool, and he knew they were going to lose. So he's like, no, screw it, I'm not doing it. The rest of them try their ass off. Momoharu, as Sora finds out, can jump really super high, so the guy can dunk. He doesn't have the chance yet at this point, though, to do any offense. They're just using him as a rebound machine, which they explain in the show that Sora was the guy who just practiced shot after shot after shot to make perfect shots. Momoharu did the same, and for whatever reason, just couldn't hit them. Just never could hit a shot. So I guess the way they're going to push it eventually is that Momoharu is going to become like friggin' Shaq, who he just stands under the rim and just dunks it as much as he can. But they get to the game. I'm trying to think what the name of the school was. I'm already forgetting half the character names. There's so many names here to remember in this kind of show that I'm just losing it. But Sora does really well at the beginning, and then they realize that there's a certain spot on the court that he's not good at shooting at. And they keep directing him to that court. He keeps missing. Eventually, it starts killing his wrist. So he eventually uses the female way of shooting baskets to take a little bit more stress off him. He starts being able to hit baskets again, but they're getting crushed. The score is like 100-17 at one point. And then finally, because Chiaki comes there and watched the game, because he was supposed to go on a date, and the girl who he's going out with, who is certainly not much to look at, and that's intentional, that's what anime likes to do, they go watch the game, and all she wants to do is cheer for the really hot guy on the opponent team. And eventually it seems to just piss Chiaki off enough, not to mention he's seeing how difficult it's been for the guys down there, and they're trying their asses off, that he eventually comes in at the last 5 minutes of the game, and Sora discovers that this guy is a master point guard. He is a master strategist. He knows where to direct guys. He's unbelievably good on defense, being able to take the ball away from guys. His passing ability is second to none. So it's the whole idea of guys super OP but just doesn't want to play that often unless he wants to kind of character. But they start taking it a little more seriously. Obviously, they weren't going to come back and win the game, but they start showing that there's at least something there. And just based on the cast, I would almost assume that you're going to see definitely a bit of a change with some of these guys. You're going to see a little bit more going in. But there was definitely a sense of, okay, the groundwork is starting. And as the 6th episode end, you get that sense of, okay, so we've gotten a glimpse of what we can have, and now we're going to see how they evolve. And that's probably going to be what we'll see from here on out. It's a 50-episode season from what I'm seeing here, so this is going to go for a while. So this could be the first show in a long time that I watch that goes past, say, the traditional 25. So we'll see where that goes from there. But like I said before, I don't mind the show. I thought I was going to have a lot of trouble with it because, sports anime and me just generally don't get along. But this show, for whatever reason, has not only worked well, but I continue to enjoy and like more and more as the show goes on, which is very, very unusual for me. It's hard for a show to start off a little bit and then really climb, but this show's doing it. And then speaking of another show that really has climbed in the last 3 episodes, really, you have Ascendance of a Bookworm. And when I got to episode 3, I had this sitting on my anime list at a 6. It was fine. It was good. It's an okay show. 3 episodes later, I have it all the way up to a 9. I've gone from a 6 to a 9 in 3 episodes. This show had a slower start, and all of a sudden has picked up so goddamn well. I am enjoying the hell out of the show. It's super cute. Just mine has been out of her freaking mind, going so far into, creating a whole new attempt at trying to create books, because her whole thing is she wants to be a librarian, but realizing she can't, now her goal is to be able to produce paper so that books can become more readily available. You've seen her develop the relationship he has with Otto. She's now got this relationship with this sort of merchant where she's trying to make stuff for him. She's got that other young boy her own age, I think is it Lutz, he wanted to be a merchant. She takes him to Otto to try to learn, and they pretty much all tell him, look, you're already a resident. If you're a merchant, you're going to be giving up your residency. You won't have any sort of ID or anything. You're just going to be traveling, and you'd be lucky if some people even let you in. Do you really want to do that? And Lutz kind of takes a second. He can't. He's crushed because his dream is gone. Basically, he's been told that your dream is not going to work, and realizing the one thing he also has helping mine that he as much as he has, he goes, okay, fine, then I'm going to be a merchant who sells the stuff that mine produces. And that's how they're selling the show, is that, I mean, it seems pretty obvious at this point that I think they're trying to say, I don't know, I'm assuming the show will stick to mine being this 6 or 7 year old kid. Maybe the season will end as like she's getting her baptism at 7, but I don't think they're going to be going any deeper with them getting older. But it looks pretty obvious that, if this show runs long enough and they're of age, mine and Lutz are definitely going to be a couple. Like, there's no doubt. Like, even mine, obviously being, I want to say she's a teenager when she gets killed in Japan and then she gets teleported to this world and, is put into mine's body. That she obviously even senses that, yeah, no, this guy is the hots for me, and yeah, this is something weird. But who knows? I don't think they're going to evolve that far. I don't think the show intends to go this far down the years, but we'll see where it goes from there. But otherwise, this show went from being like, it was fine, to the comedy was hitting really well. It's very, very adorable. The story aspect of it is actually picking up, and you can actually see the personalities really fleshing out now a lot more, since Mind's being allowed to move around. You're getting to see some more stuff. She's doing more now instead of just, doing one thing, getting a fever, being in bed for half the episode, and you're seeing an evolution. And a lot of shows, when they start off slow, they try a little bit too hard to pick it up, or they don't pick it up at all. Whereas in this case, it's built and built and built and continues to retain the stuff that I did like about it from the beginning and then just expand upon it. Whereas a lot of shows will just keep throwing shit at the wall and trying to see what sticks, and most of the time they fail. And this time around, with Ascendance of a Bookworm, it's taken all the concepts that they knew were working, expanded upon them, made them better, and then has really started to put in a story and really a character evolution from Mind's perspective that's really made it so easy to like. And I've recommended this show as the top show to my friends who are also keeping up with anime. I said straight up, this is going to be your favorite show this season. And it might not be for me, just because Dr. Stone kind of has an unfair advantage, being a show that's already had a full season to really get my attention. But this show is becoming a very good second. That's for damn sure. All right, next up, didn't I say to make my abilities average in the next life? This show, again, is another one that's... I haven't changed its rating from a 7, but it's becoming a very, very fun 7. I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is some over the moon like show that reinvents things, but I mean it's cute girls doing cute things in an isekai format. What are you expecting? Are you expecting something crazy out of it? Because I'm not usually. But they've now graduated from the hunter school they are, so now they're starting on adventures. They had the bit in, I believe, episode 5, where their clothes were covered in mud, so they did the fan service a little bit, where for whatever reason, what's her fake name? Because I know her real name's Adele now that they've revealed it. What was her fake name going by? I can't believe I'm forgetting this now, because they've called her that for 5 episodes and now it's changed. Whatever, I can't think of it right now. I don't know why. But she just apparently has enough extra clothes for all the girls that happen to be schoolgirl uniforms, except for Pauline, who gets what looks like the gym uniform, but with the shirt torn up. So, of course, it's showing off her let's say her measurements, to say the least. But I don't know. I don't know if I can really talk about the show too much. I mean, other than, I guess, them having their little bit with Reina, giving her backstory about how her family was killed. She gets adopted by a group of mercenaries. They get killed horribly, and that's where she snaps and becomes the Crimson Reina, where she becomes this fiery girl with a vengeance. And they try to play the card again in episode 6, where they presumably kill off this old guy that they were helping out earlier. And seeing the little girl crying over the one person left in her family that's now gone, Reina snaps again. She goes to kill everybody. Luckily, her friends save her from that disaster, and I guess they keep pushing the relationship stuff forward. But in the end, this show's not going to reinvent the wheel. It's every episode's going to be this new little thing. It's going to lead to cute girls doing cute things, as I said. I imagine at some point, there's no way that if this show doesn't have a swimsuit episode, I will be shocked, to be completely honest, because this show seems like the episode that would do it. But I mean, again, if you're into moe shows, this is going to be one that you'll take. You're not going to sit here and be like, this is the greatest thing ever, but it's just going to be something you can turn your brain off and just go with. I mean, there's not really a character necessarily that I like above the others. I mean, they all have their quirks. I mean, Reina's probably the one I care about the least. But I mean, generally speaking, there's nothing bad to say about it. It's just not doing anything too unique. It's not doing anything to really push. It's just, it knows what it wants to be. It wants to be a show that you're going to screenshot and do some cute little fan drawings of it. It's all facial expressions. It's all fan service. There's nothing too big about it, but it's still not as fan servicey as a show I'll get to later. But it's trying. I mean, it's definitely trying, but it's more of a lighter-hearted comedy than it is straight, over the top fan service like High School Prodigies is, which I'll get to soon. But otherwise, this show's just going to be, it's perfectly fine. I'm not hating it. I'm not loving it. I'm just in the zone of, it's pretty good. It's fine. Anyways, so we move on to Dr. Stone. So now that it's back in alphabetical order for everything, we're not separating the season 2 shows anymore. So we are now getting to the point that things are starting to heat up again. Tsukasa is finally getting back into the frame. We still haven't seen Taiju or fuck, that name is a pain in the ass to say. Yuzuriya. I know I'm even saying that wrong, but that's just one of those names that in English, looking at that by English letters, it does not come off the tongue well at all. But obviously everything has been fixed. The village is now starting to work, but because Tsukasa isn't convinced that Gen was telling the truth about Senku being dead, either that or I think he just got the idea, well, fuck it, like, I'll just go conquer more places. But he sends a few men there, including a guy who's really good with a spear, so apparently now there's 2 Tsukasa level fighters on that group. So it's basically going to be a battle of brawn against a battle of science. And we'll see how that goes, and obviously we know who's going to win by the end of it, but the question really is, does anybody die in the process? Now, we nearly lost Kinro, who I don't think they're going to kill off anytime soon, because now he's got glasses on, so now he looks super adorable if you like your tough-looking guys that end up putting glasses on and now look a lot cuter than they ever would. But, I mean, he's no Suika. He's no Suika. Suika's got definitely the glasses part down because she's still wearing the freaking... I don't even know what the hell to call the thing on her head. Because it looks like a giant apple, but it's not... I don't know what the hell it's supposed to be. I'm even looking at her her bio on my list. It says it's a watermelon head, but it doesn't have the stripes that a watermelon usually does either, so I'm not sure what the hell it is, but it is what it is, right? So, I honestly couldn't tell you if anything was too big here. I mean, the only thing we see for sure is that the episode that started, I believe it was... Well, I mean, it's not episode 4 in this case, so I think it would be, episode 16, I think, by that logic. We find out that the reason that they know Senku, that like people like Ruri know Senku, is because the village, Ishigami Village, is named after his father, who was the original colonizer. So we see, like we saw at the beginning, or at the end, I should say, of episode 15, him and 5 other people were on a space station when the green light hit. They were the only 6 that survived the petrification. So they all go down to figure they can try to save him. They realize that they can't. And in the process, at least half of them have already died. The brown-haired girl with the pigtails, she's the first. I think the guy goes down after that. The girl that looks like a spitting image of Ruri and Kohaku, she also goes. This is where I think the genes get a little bit weird, because the elder looks a lot like his dad in retrospect, like a mix of the dad and the blonde woman, the pop singer. But the girls look way too much like that pop singer, and I would accept this if the petrification was undone 100 years later, maybe, but several millennia since the petrification, and these girls look almost exactly like that pop singer. The genes do not work that well. At some point, something is going to change a little bit, and you're going to get a much different look to it. But I guess it was their way of signifying that, hey, there's a relationship between these girls and the people that came back from the space station. But it was a pretty sad story. You had a lot of death. Basically, I'm assuming that, I mean, unfortunately, with the way that situation works, you had a lot of incest going on for a while, because you had to, because there wasn't enough people. There was only 6 people. We know that for sure the brown-haired girl gave birth to a couple kids, or maybe the older woman did. It's hard to say. But there's only enough kids there that it makes you wonder if there had to be some sort of incestuous relationships going on because of preservation of the human race, because you had to. I mean, is there a chance that somehow they could have avoided it? Yes, but with the sheer numbers, you have to figure that either the one couple that wouldn't have been incestuous just had to keep having babies over and over again, or something. There's no way around it, so. But we get all the way back to the future, and like I said, Tsukasa is now coming to fight. He sends a few people over. They deal with him with... they tried to bluff that they had guns, but instead they had used the materials that they did have at the time being to make samurai swords. So they have the better bladed weapons compared to the spears that the Tsukasa Empire is creating. But it's pretty obvious that they're not going to beat Tsukasa just with samurai blades. It's just not going to be good enough. So you figure they have to get to guns at some point. It's the only way I figure they can beat Tsukasa. Tsukasa's the only way they're going to kill him is he's going to have to die by a gun. It seems to be like that's what they're pulling out. So you figure that's what's going on. Otherwise, at this point, everything else is still a mystery. We're not sure what's going to happen next. I mean, we figure the attack's going to come. The question, like I said before, is who's going to die? Is somebody going to die, for that matter? And how long is this arc going to go for? Because we have not seen Tsukasa in a while, which means we have also not seen Taiju and Yuzuriya in a while. So there's a lot of questions that have been yet to be answered, and we will hopefully see that down the line. But at this point in time, we're still waiting. I'm annoyed by this next show. I really was looking forward to this, and I'm still going to probably finish it, but I'm struggling. Granblue Fantasy Season 2. I'm kind of put off. Ever since the first episode finished, everything since has been not good. It's been very, not difficult to follow, but in I guess say difficult to follow in terms of confusing, it's not. It's difficult to follow because it's not interesting. This whole arc they had with Vera did not work. She was not that interesting a character. Her monotonous did not work. Not to mention the not explaining things for such a long period of time with what was going on with Catalina. And it was a very slow-paced story. So on top of it not being that interesting and not being told as quickly as it should have been, it was really hard to connect to it. And now that it's over, I'm even more frustrated because after all that, Vera's still staying behind. You would have figured, after Catalina saves her and Lyria takes the restriction from Vera, she still has that, what do they call it? They call it primordial beast, or I know they call it something like that. Whatever was keeping Vera stuck in that island is now not there. So you figure, we got a new crew member. Nope, she's still staying there. So all that work they put in of trying to free her from the shackles from that island mean absolutely fucking nothing because she's still staying there. So 4 episodes, basically, of storytelling about how this girl lost everything. She sacrificed everything to give Catalina a chance to achieve her dream of being a knight. And she finally snaps because she feels like Catalina is not even looking at her anymore. They have to try to stop her. They manage to do so and save her life and then even remove the shackles that were connected to her. And she still resumes her position that made her snap in the first place. So that was a colossal waste of 4 episodes. I was not happy about it. And not to mention, they put a bonus episode for Halloween instead of a 6th episode. So technically, I haven't even hit the 6th episode of the show yet. So I don't know if I'll ever drop this show, but man, is it starting to put itself on thin ice because I'm not happy with the way they're going about it. And all the things that I liked about it are not showing up. The comedy really hasn't been there. The adventure hasn't been there. They haven't gone anywhere since they came to this place with Vera. I'm hoping that it picks up now, but my suspicion is that they're trying to put the story forward with them trying to capture Lyria again, and it seems like they're going to do less exploring again, which was the part that really I enjoyed of the first season. The stuff of seeing new characters almost every week, seeing all these crazy summons, and seeing all the different places they go to. You had characters like Marie and, who was the samurai girl from near the end of the season? I can't remember now. Shit. But Marie's like the one that comes to me immediately. She was awesome. All that fun stuff from the first season so far, other than the first episode, is gone. Like, it's not there. And I'm really hoping that they recover from this because, man, otherwise the only thing that this show's got going forward is the best opening song of all the shows right now. That 7 Billion Dot song is unreal. I wish that song is on Spotify, but it looks like they haven't even released the full track yet. I can only even see the TV size level on YouTube and stuff, so I have to assume the song just hasn't even been released yet. But damn, I want to hear that song in full because it's such a good song. Otherwise, but man, this show has been a struggle, and I cannot believe I'm saying that because I was looking forward to this show so much, but it just hasn't been putting its best foot forward, and that's just disappointing. So let's just move on. High school prodigies have it easy, even in another world. So it's become pretty apparent. I mean, it already was after the first episode with Riruru. God, that is speaking of a tongue twister. Jesus. It's spelled R-I-R-U-R-U. Riruru. That, oh my God. I don't want to ever say this name. The elf girl. I'm going to call her that from now on because that's a hell of a lot easier than Riruru. I sound like I'm friggin' flubbing when I do that. It sounds like I'm stammering my words when I say that. We knew right away that the show was going to be very, very fan servicey when friggin' elf girl over here, that I refuse to say the name of now, helps out Tsukasa by him saying he couldn't eat. He just didn't have the ability to chew. And then she's like, oh, fine, I'll chew your food and then kiss you and shove it down your throat with my tongue. I'm like, oh, okay, so we're just going to go straight as close to hentai without being hentai route, are we? And then they expand on it further when they have an open bath and you're seeing all the girls naked. We haven't seen any of the guys in the bath yet, which is a little bit irritating because, again, you know how I feel about equal representation when it comes to ecchi and fan service. Actually, that's a lie. They've had Akatsuki in the bath as well, but I mean, Akatsuki's a little boy, so it's also kind of creepy and pedophilia worthy, but at the same time, he also has the girly look to him anyway, so I guess it doesn't even really count. But yeah, they haven't done anything with Tsukasa, Elka, or Masato, so I'm kind of hoping they get off their ass and do something about it, but they probably won't because a lot of these shows figure, well, we can't show a lot of guy butt because we don't want to make our male fans that watch the show strictly for the plot think that they might be turning gay because Japan still has that issue apparently. But this show is such a weird mix, I gotta tell you. Like I said, it's very close to being hentai. It doesn't shy away from it. But there's still some very serious stuff with this show. Obviously, the political struggle that Tsukasa is now taking on because him being the greatest politician of his world, he's now trying to take this small village of half-humans and give them a place in the world. It really is. It is a show basically about racism. That's what the show is. It's about how humans are unbelievably racist to half-humans. Like elves, like I don't know what they call the cat people in the show, but I think they gave them a specific name. I just can't think of what it is. But you see what they've done. The noble that tries to take Elf Girl and make her a concubine. The slave of Rue before Masato bought her and has now converted her into this calculating machine. There's the one scene where she's in the bath. I think it was episode 6 too, that she was trying to learn multiplication tables, and she can't do it number by number, but if you talk about it in coins, she knows everything, to the point that like Akatsuki gives her this crazy 4-digit multiplication number and she gets it instantly, because if she thinks about money, apparently she knows. But now she's on long division and nobody can fucking figure out long division, so she's screwed no matter what. But she's been fun. Elk has been struggling because he wants to fight for his country, or for his nation, but at the same time he knows that if he doesn't, or that if he does, they're screwed, and he's been kind of towing the line. Now that everything's in full action, he's just kind of being caught in the middle of it, and he's trying to figure out where he stands. But it's been very serious for a few episodes at the same time, too. Like, there's a lot of political talking, setting things up, him trying to get a government together, them using religion to get people to follow them, which is very telling on pop-up religions. But everything has that bit of seriousness, and then it just cuts immediately to fan service, and Ringo is specifically being all pouty because the big titty elf girl is getting pretty close with Tsukasa when Ringo clearly loves him as well, but she's this tiny lolly flat-chested mechanic girl that no one would look at really, which, I mean, as an anime fan, I would look that way, but at the same time, if I'm not going to kid, let's not kid ourselves. If you're in a real life situation, you got this many girls around you, you're not picking anybody because you're not taking the risk of one of them killing you at the same time, because I've watched enough anime to know that any one of them can turn into a yandere any moment. But as we've gotten through further to the show, the seven prodigies have kind of split to who I like more and more. I don't really count Tsukasa because he's given the main focal point anyway. Ringo is up there. I would say Shinobu is my favorite just because she's got the really over-the-top peppy self. I would probably, if I was really to put them in order at this point, I would put Shinobu at the top. I'd probably put Aoi, the samurai girl, at 2, just because her look is perfect. I like her more understated personality. I do like the characters that aren't nearly as over the top and they're just kind of a little more calmer and they settle down. I mean, I like both. It goes both ways, right? I mean, obviously Shinobu's at the top here, but I probably put those two at 2. I probably put, maybe I put Ringo at 3 and Akatsuki really at a close 4. I think I put Tsukasa at 5, Kane at 6, and then Masato at 7, just because Masato is kind of just forgettable. He's just the guy that goes and makes the money. Kane basically only wins because she's got boobs. That's probably the reason that I put her over Masato, because both of them are not that interesting at this point in time. I don't know if they're going to expand upon them later, but at this point, they're not too good. The only person that I would actually put on the list that's not from the main 7 would be, I'm trying to think of her name now. It's the older cat girl. I think is it Winona? I want to say that. I love her. She's been fantastic because she's badass. She's got the wily veteran sort of personality. She used to be a mercenary, so she's also got some battle experience, but she's a lot more like chill compared to the elf girl that shall not be named, who is a little over the top, sexual and lovey-dovey, which is just not working. Rue, I don't think you're actually really supposed to like Rue. You're just supposed to be like, oh, isn't she adorable? And then she's like crazy about cash. You're like, oh, never mind. I'm trying to think, is there any more other girls outside of it? I don't think they've really shown any more other than this point. No, I think at that point it's just elk. But yeah, the show itself, it's perfectly good as an isekai that's got a bit of I wouldn't say a harem mix, but it's definitely got a mix of a lot of fan service and such. The show's really started to grow on me. I've got it sitting at a 9, and I might actually be changing that maybe back to an 8, but for what I've watched of the show, I've actually really enjoyed every moment of it. It's just a matter of, am I thinking that this show is really doing anything unique to get it to the high echelon, or is it just a standard really good show? So it's tough to say at this point, but let's move on to another 8. We have ORESUKI, Are You the Only One Who Loves Me? This show has moved up. Obviously, now that the bench stuff and the annoying first episode has kind of lost its luster, and we're now moving on to more comedy level stuff, and we're getting into more of the classic harem tropes, which I will absolutely take. We have at least another girl into the harem, so it's not just... I don't think they've actually said her full name, but obviously you have Pansy, which is Sancho... Oh, Jesus Christ, Japan. Sancho Queen. Her name here is Sumireko, or Sumireko. I'm not sure how they pronounce it there. But I mean, they've never technically called Joro by his full name, which is Amatsuyu. They never have called them that. I don't know if they ever will. But Joro is what they keep calling him at this point. I mean, I'll just call them by their nicknames almost at this point. So the show itself is moved in a little bit more. Obviously, we already knew that Pansy was, or I get what I'm trying to think. Is it Pansy or are they calling it Panshi? Because that's the way that they sort of pronounce it in the show. At least Aoi does, or Himawari if you want to go that route. We knew that has her undying love with Joro. Joro just is disgusted by her. But it gets a little bit more screwed up because she's the hot girl that he saw at a baseball game, but now that she's overdressed herself to look different, he's not now he sees her personality for what it is and he hates her. And at the same time, he now has his friends back, like Cosmos is back, Himawari is back, Sunchan is back. You now have the addition of Hina, the journalist girl who was trying to scheme to get him to only be interested in her rather than the other 3, because she suspected that the harem was forming and she wanted full custody of him and nobody else, and that didn't work. So I would imagine as we continue forward that she's going to just be another part of the harem along with the other 3. There are still other girls to go. I imagine that girl that was supposed to go to the flower dance, what was her name? It was the first year. I can't think of her name right now. She's probably going to become evolved again. I think if I remember correctly, there's either one or two other girls in the main poster that you see. I'm going to do a quick look at it now. Yeah, it's 2 others. So we're expecting to see at least 2 more girls at some point. From where and how, we're not sure yet. I mean, we'll obviously see as we watch further into the show. But all in all, I mean, this show has just been a harem anime that's kind of put everything on its upside down. You know, the fact that we realize that the main character is actually not the main character, it's the best friend trope. We're not even sure if all the girls are interested in him so much as they're still interested in what the real protagonist is in Sun-chan. But at this point, it's tough to say. It looks like, I mean, from the way that things are looking, that you would assume that they're all interested in him now and it's going to evolve from here. But, you know, it hasn't quite expanded yet. We're getting into the second half where I imagine things will. But otherwise, the show itself is just, it's doing everything you would expect a harem to do, and then taking that and turning it up to 11 and also flipping it upside down at the same time. So it's all over the place. The bench keeps coming out again and again. Like, it came out again with Hina, except this time she said she liked him, so it threw him off. But I'm really liking the show. I was worried about it in the beginning, and it's really grown on me. I don't know if this show will be remotely close to being the best one, but it's definitely taking a push forward to be like, hey, it's not going to be a show that I'm going to be in danger of dropping. Is there really anything else I can say about it? I mean, otherwise, I mean, I don't really, again, like, I don't have to explain too much to you guys, because, I mean, it's a harem anime. You should pretty much understand what you're walking into ahead of time. Although I am surprised the ecchi and fan service has not been nearly as high as I thought it would be. Although, you know, the swimsuit episode, like, there's no way a swimsuit episode is not coming with this show. There's no goddamn way. But we'll see where it goes from here. We have 3 more shows to go here. So we have Radiant Season 2. Another show that's kind of in a slow starter, although I'm not nearly as down on this show as I've been with Granblue Fantasy. I think this show is just really taking its time. And Radiant is also a longer season compared to Granblue Fantasy. This is a 21 episode show from what I'm looking at here, I should say. And it's been a bit of a slow start, but at the same time, it's at least dropped a couple of things that at least tells us where we're going. We know that we have presumably a consistent character from now on in Okaho, who I really like. They've got Melly and Doc back into the picture. Melly's trying to become a night sorcerer, where Okaho is situated, and Seth has been trying to get involved in. You also have who I presume is going to be the end villain of this season, which is that queen girl, Almina, who... Is it Almina, or am I thinking somebody else here? Hang on. I'm clicking on it. No, it's somebody else. It's, I can't think of her name. I can't think of what it is. It's the girl that put herself in, like, full, like massive form. Who, there's no way she's that big. It's like a projectioner, probably. And every time, like, the one guy would bend to his knees and look up, she'd be like, you're looking up my skirt? And it's like, oh, great, you're a giant pervert. Cool, you're a villain that's probably going to try to get Seth to bang her or some shit. I don't know what's going on here, but who knows. I can tell it's going to get weird with her. There's no way it's not going to. I will be shocked if it doesn't get weird at all with her, but, you know, we'll see how that goes from there. Otherwise, I mean... Again, not a whole lot has happened. I mean, we've seen Seth finally talk to Melly for the first time. Melly, I don't know if she hates him so much as she doesn't want anything to do with him right now, because she's furious with him that he decided to leave both her and Doc because he was afraid that he would hurt her with his uncontrollable powers. And she basically just turned at him and said, "What the fuck do you think I have? Like, what do you think I've been dealing with my entire life? I have powers that I cannot control, and I fear that I could kill people with my power. But you're ditching me." Like, that was basically what she said. It's like, I'm literally you, and I didn't ditch you, but you're ditching me. Like, and so at this point, they're still not dealing with each other, although at the end of episode 6, Seth manages to use the visions he's having, presumably from what his brother has done with him, and he ends up getting into this place where he sees how these spectral nemesis are being made. He becomes one because he now sees that it's just a projection, it's not an actual nemesis. And both Okaho and Melly recognize that spectral nemesis is him, so they're dealing with that. I imagined Dart we'll figure it out soon too when he gets closer. Grimm already knows and knows he can't help, so he's just kind of watching at this point. I don't know if Alma's going to get involved at this point. I doubt it, although it's definitely possible that she could make an appearance as well. But at this point, it's just we're setting down the groundwork. There's nothing really big to speak of. We're still in that stage of waiting to see when the real story is going to start forming. He hasn't gotten into the archives yet, so he hasn't found anything about Radiant yet. We haven't seen who the villain really is at this point. I think around this point we didn't know for sure it was what was the guy's name that basically looked like Nappa by the end of the frickin' battle? I mean, if you guys have watched Radiant, you know who I'm talking about, but we didn't know around this point either who the big villain was going to be, and it just kept going until we found out. So I imagine probably by the time that I talk to you on the next show, or maybe the last show of this season before we move to the winter, that we'll have a better idea on what's going on there. But at this point in time, the show is just starting. Honestly, it's 6 episodes of 21. We're not there yet. We haven't really gotten to the meat and potatoes yet, so we're still waiting. So let's move on. Welcome to Demon School, Iruma-kun. This show also has been fantastic, and a show, again, that I didn't think anything of because I thought it was going to be your typical shonen anime, and that's like a high school thing, and instead, this show has just completely turned itself on its head and has been super funny. I will admit, again, the bias of me being somewhat interested in it is because Sullivan is voiced by the guy who voices Kiryu from Yakuza series, so there is a bit of bias that let me at least give it a little bit more of a chance, but it didn't really need much, because as soon as is it episode 2 or 3 that we see Claire? I think we see Claire at the end of 2, but we really don't get to meet her until episode 3. Episode 3 is 100% for sure when I knew I was going to like this show, because Clara is off-the-wall stupid hilarious. I love it. And now we're seeing Emily, who is the class president, who knows that humans exist, but and I knew it was going to be something stupid, because she goes to a bookshelf and goes to put the secret room, which is like all the knowledge I have collected of humankind. And I'm sitting there thinking, it's going to be anime or something, isn't it? And it's just a massive bookshelf of yaoi manga. And I'm like, oh God, it is. Or not yaoi manga, like a really shitty rom-com manga. So like the classic thing of the guy running into her. I'm sure at some point there's going to be she'll read the book and see the scene where the guy, like, you know, she's leaning up against the wall and he puts the hand over her shoulder up against the wall. Because you know it's going to keep happening, because as soon as, and this is episode 6, as soon as she reads that book and she's like, I don't understand a word of this, because she doesn't know Japanese, but she's like, man, why am I getting so turned on looking at this? And she's getting all hot and bothered. She takes the manga with her, and as she goes away, she runs into Iruma and just thinks, oh great, it's the exact scene that never actually happens except in anime. And now she's like, holy shit, is he trying to hit on me and trying to steal my soul and all this stuff? And pretty much confirms that he's human to her. Although he's probably gonna dodge it somehow, at least for the time being. But everything about that episode was amazing, and this show went from like, all right, I'm interested in this, to all right, I really want to see where this goes now, because now I've got 2 characters that I really, really like in both Clara and Emily. Otherwise, I don't know if we're gonna see a lot of her yet. The other girl with the I think it's the light blue hair and glasses, I'm just curious about her because she looks like she's gonna do something crazy. But Sablo's been kind of fun. He's been good as the dipshit, guy who just wants to punch everything. That's been fun. Of all people, what's the guy's name? The guy that he fights in like the first episode and gets to follow him. I can't think of his name now. I know his last name. I know his last name is Asmodeus, but I can't think of what his real name is. I don't know if they even said what his name is yet. If they did, it was early and I've forgotten it. He's been okay. I mean, he's like been the weak link of all of them, but he mostly just acts to be the guy that gets pissed off all the time at whatever Clara's doing to him. So, you have basically the Snape character of this show, who has been kind of funny, but for the most part, the show has been run off of Iruma, Clara, and now Emily. Now that she's in this, she's definitely going to be starting to run the show a little bit more. But, yeah, this show has been a lot more than I thought it could be. Obviously, with the first trial they did, again, Iruma's going to luck into everything. Although now that he has that ring that Sullivan is embedded with a lot of magical power, now he can use magic, so now he's capable of doing something. So it's less likely that he's just going to luck into shit or just somehow just pounce his way into these things. He's going to have a lot more of a chance to at least show some power. And of course, he starts that by, he wanted to make a little cherry blossom tree as something to make out of that botanist class, and he ends up making a giant one that destroys the tower and has now become a figurehead of that school. Because, he's trying really hard not to be noticed, and yet no matter what he does, he just continues to do so. So, otherwise, this is another long-running show. I believe this show is going to be running further in. How many episodes do they say? Yeah, 23. So this is going to be much like what Dr. Stone Radiant's doing, where it's going to be a bit of a longer show. And yeah, I'm a lot more interested in the show than I thought it was going to be. So I'm really glad that we've had a couple episodes that really pushed it. So anyways, the last show on the list, We'll Never Learn Bokuben. And again, harem anime. What more do I need to say? Although there have been some fun stuff this episode, or this 3 set of episodes. So the two things that come to mind are episode 4, where Ogata gets a makeover and looks completely different. I'm trying to think. I think episode 3 is when she cut her hair, so I don't think the hair thing applies. But when she cut her hair, even like just cutting the bang off, I'm like, oh, this looks pretty good. Now that she's gotten this makeover, I'm like, I hate it. I hate this because she no longer has her glasses on. They must have given her contacts. Her hair now has extensions on it, so she doesn't have the short hair anymore. I hate that. They put a shit ton of makeup on her. I hate that. Like all the charm about her is now gone. So, but it was funny because the entire episode is Naruyuki having no idea who the fuck she is, because it looks nothing like her. You wouldn't think it was Ogata no matter what. So the entire episode of her trying to hit on him and him thinking, holy crap, is this girl like perverted and just trying to hit on me on the first time we meet? Like, what's going on here? Hilarious episode. And then she's like, do you want to come over to my place? She's like, he's like, oh shit, we're gonna do it? Like, what am I supposed to do? And he gets there, and obviously she sees her dad again, who is a massive like classic stereotypical like tough dad who just wants the best for her daughter, or his daughter. That was a good episode. I honestly don't even remember what the 5th episode was. I'm trying to think what it was. Was it the episode that... Was it the same episode that Fumino got a package from Naruyuki that was not what was supposed to be, and he ended up getting like his sister's bra instead? I think that might have been that episode. That was kind of funny, but that episode was just a passing episode, whereas you get to episode 6, and I get everything out of that episode I want. Because I think that episode was both. Or maybe I'm wrong. No, I think episode 5 had the foot massage thing. Shit, I don't remember. Well, anyways, I'll just talk about the 2 events to begin with. So, at some point in these 3 episodes, if you remember last season, Naruyuki's mom has a flurry of jobs, and every once in a while something happens and she needs somebody to help out. And of course, Naruyuki, being the good boy that he is, he won't say no to helping, so he ends up helping as best he can. The first season, he ends up being a mascot opening up a lingerie shop, and the girl who owns it suddenly gets a call that she needs to go see her kid because her kid's like super sick or something, and leaves the store to him. So in this mascot costume, he's helping women pick out underwear, including obviously all the characters that he is teaching, which, because of course, why else wouldn't it be like that? Same thing happens again, literally to a T. He has to help his mom. She is a foot masseuse, and same deal, or I think he was just going to be mascotting again, and the same girl that owned the laundry shop now has a different venture, and she has to leave that one too, so he has to help out. And this time, he gets... did he get both Mafuyu and Asumi? Yeah, he got Mafuyu first. He did a proper back massage, and Mafuyu is trying her ass off not to make sounds because, for whatever reason, apparently Naruyuki's really good at giving massages. So every girl now should really want to go around him, because if they ever feel any sort of pain, he's going to solve that real quick. But that goes as funny as it does. She doesn't know. But then Asumi comes in, and Asumi needs her feet done. Although she doesn't want to be there, her friend brings her over from the maid cafe, and she's trying really hard not to respond because she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to admit that she's actually enjoying herself because she didn't want to be there in the first place. But Naruyuki is so good that she's not reacting. Or sorry, that it's working, but she's trying really hard not to react. And this just pisses him off because he's thinking, am I like not trying hard enough? Like he feels like slighted because he's not doing a good enough job. So he just goes full tear and starts making Asumi make all these noises. And of course, because it happens to have to work out that way, Urika and Fumino also go there. And at one point, I think Asumi either kicks off the head of the mascot or it just falls off, because of all the movement. And when they go to see what's going on, that's when they see him giving her the foot massage, and he's just like, I can explain this. That was a fun skit. That's the thing about the show that I really like, is there's a lot of fun skits to it. It's not really an overarching story. I mean, they bring in the studying here and there, but generally speaking, it's two over-the-top skits back to back, and it's always been fun. There's always a good one each episode. And then we get to episode 6 where we get the best one, where it was just off its ass crazy. So, as we know, Mafiu is a bit of a... She's not the best neat freak, let's say. And I believe the hot water in her apartment is being worked on, so she's already miserable enough because her place is a mess. Now she doesn't have hot water, so she goes to a public bath. Of course, Naruyuki's taking his little brother and sister there, because they are at a poorhouse, so naturally it's pretty easy for them to not have hot water. In fact, it sounds like they go there all the time. So now Mafiu's like, great, now I'm going to a public bath with the guy that I'm already embarrassed enough because he's been to my house several times, cleaned it up for me, has probably seen me in a few situations now that are slightly embarrassing. Now, thankfully it's separated, so she's okay, but the brother and sister, who apparently can just go together into the girls' one, that was throwing me off a little bit. I'm not understanding why the boy wasn't being kept away from the girls' bath, but I guess because they're young enough that I think it's at that point that they don't care as much. But several times during this episode, they keep looking at Mafi being like, oh, she's so pretty, she's like a model. And they keep like teasing her, being like, oh, will you marry into our family? Because they figure, well, she must be able to bring in the big bucks because she's got that model body. So they're less thinking about Naruyuki having a girlfriend so much as they're thinking, we need money. So can you marry into the family so we can mooch off of you? And she's just getting super embarrassed more or less because I don't know at this point still if Mafiu might actually have some level of feelings for Naruyuki, but it seems like they're starting to play on it a little bit more. And obviously it doesn't help when they get to the bathhouse and they steal Mafiu's underwear, show it to Naruyuki. He freaks the fuck out, tells him to go back with it. Asumi is also at the bathhouse, and at one point, I'm trying to remember what made her pass out, or if she slipped or something. I can't remember what it was. Something caused Mafiu to pass out. I think it might have been just them talking about Naruyuki and her just getting all flustered and just fainting or something. I really honestly don't remember what it is now, and I'm kind of annoyed that I don't. But the manager calls him in to help her, get her out of there because nobody can pick her up because you're all young women. Or they're either all young women that can't support that level of weight, or they're all old women that, are way too old to be able to carry that without potentially hurting themselves too. So Naruyuki being the one young guy in the men's bath, they have him pick her up princess style to try to get her out of there. Of course, it takes him forever to get out of the room, so by that time she has a chance to wake up. She freaks out, and in the process, I can't remember if in the motion of her getting out of his arms, or if it's the kids. I think it might have been the kids, but the towel gets knocked off of her, and that just makes things worse for him. And the whole episode ends with her, with the two of them, with her and Asumi leaving, and obviously Naruyuki taking his kids out. Or not his kids, his siblings away. They all go home. And the kids reveal that they stole her underwear again. And that's when you hear in the background Asami saying to Mafi, what? You lost your underwear? You're wearing no underwear on? It's so stupid. With harems, you really have to turn your brain off. And this is one of those episodes that, like, It's as dumb as it gets, and that's the kind of shit that I like because it's just so stupidly funny. And I will say that I do like, if I was to really put all the girls on the list in order, it's easily Mafiyu at number 1, Rizu is a number 2, and a strong number 2 at that, and then you probably have Asumi, then Uruka, and then Fumino. Fumino, not even because she's like the flat-chested girl, but just because I don't feel like there's nearly as much unique about her as all the other ones do have. Rizu has the look and the unique facial expressions and the personality. Asumi has the little devious, jokey personality that I do like. Uruka does have the peppiness that reminds me a lot of Asa Shigure from Shuffle. But Fumino is just, she's kind of the plain Jane. That's honestly how I look at Fumino. She's just there. She's kind of there to be the straight one. You know, they're just kind of the straight and narrow girl that just kind of keeps them back on track. And then, I don't know, maybe at some point, maybe they do open her up a little bit more, but at this point, she's just there. At least in my opinion. I'm sure there's a lot of people there that love her over the rest of them, but for me personally, it's not nearly as strong as it would be with the other 4. And Mafiyu especially. I think Mafiyu also has the unfair advantage because she is the older character on the show, so it's a little bit easier. But she's hilarious. I don't want to say she's tsundere. I don't think that's the right word for her, but she's the girl that she likes to play, because, I mean, she's their teacher, so she has to play the tough and strict when she's at school, because in Japan, obviously, it's very strict out there, so they have to. But behind that mask is a girl who is not nearly as mature as she looks like at school, so I like that split personality thing with her there. But otherwise, this is probably my number 3 show. So at this point, so if we're going to say what my top 3 are, still at this point, no doubtably Dr. Stone is number 1. Ascendance of a Bookworm has done such a fantastic job at kicking ass. I might actually put it at 2. It's between that and We Never Learn Bokuben. There's no doubt in my mind that those 2 are 2 and 3. The question is which one is which, and at this point I couldn't tell you. I think Bookworm might just have the slight edge because it surprised me, and Bokuben has had another season already to get my attention, so I'm not being as favorable with that because it's already had some time. But Dr. Stone is so goddamn good that even though it's a second season show now, that I don't care. Like, I'm giving it everything because its storytelling has been unreal. And like I've said plenty of times before on this podcast, a show that usually Crunchyroll pushes down our throats so hard, I never get into. And not only am I into this show, I am head over heels into this show. I am diving full because everything they do has been perfect. The storytelling is fantastic. The characters are fantastic. The facial expressions are amazing. Everything is being done so well. That is what a show should be aspiring to be. That level of quality on all fronts. And it's so rare to have a show that's that good. Especially one that's not a serious, or that's trying to be serious and a comedy at the same time. It's tough. I mean, obviously, going off a show like Given, I guess I can see that it works a little bit more often than I think it does, but generally speaking, 10 out of 10 shows are a dime a dozen, and it's crazy to think that I might have 2 straight seasons with a 10 because that doesn't happen very often. Usually a 10 is once every 2 seasons, every 3 seasons even. Sometimes I go 1 year with only a single 10. So it's one of those things that I'm really impressed with how that show has gone, and I'm just praying that it... I keep praying that it doesn't fuck this up because it's doing so well that I'm just worried that it's going to do one thing that's going to drive me nuts. And I'm going to be like, why did you do that? But so far it hasn't done that. So that is the episode 4 to 6 reviews of this fall season. So thank you so much for watching, guys. If you were listening to this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Don't forget to comment below and share this video. I'm starting to see the view count start to go up as we get further in. So I'm glad that this show is starting to at least catch the eyes of a few people. So if you're watching this, thank you so much for keeping up with this. I hope you're enjoying it. Please, again, comment below. I want to hear from you guys. If you're listening to this on audio, if you can rate this at all, please do so. Even if it's a 4-star rating, I don't give a crap. Give me something here. As long as it's not a 1 or a 2, please be nice. Share this with your friends as well. If you want to contact me outside of YouTube comments, you can contact me by email for any comments, questions, or even suggestions of stuff that you like. If there's a show you want to suggest to me here in this case because it's being anime, if there's something that I've missed, because again, I only watch stuff on Crunchyroll at this point, let me know by emailing me at askcsradical@gmail.com. You can also reach me at Twitter at csradical and Instagram at cs-radical. And there are other podcasts you can listen to as well. There is the wrestling-themed Radical Wrestling Podcast, or the RWP. You have a show that I'm working on probably in the next couple of weeks. I'm trying to get a first episode of. It's called, at this point, I think it's going to be called the Radical Recollection. It might be called something else. I want to stick to the RR format because I don't want to call it the Radical Rant anymore, because this is not going to be necessarily a lot of ranting so much as it's going to be kind of talking about stuff that, I remember or stuff that I like. There might be topical things at some point, but the first episode I'm looking to do is going to be an episode on Final Fantasy X, which is my favorite game of all time. So look forward to that sometime. Hopefully by the end of this year. I'm trying to get around. This is the problem. My time is so limited that it's hard to get my ass off, or to get up off my ass to do some of these things, because I'm already in such a schedule-like thing that I'm like, okay, but I have to do these things first. So hopefully down the line I can get to doing that. Otherwise, there is the podcast I do with my friends Vish and Chris called the VCR Podcast, which is also on my YouTube channel. But if you're looking for the audio version, you can go to anchor.fm/VCR podcast for that. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for checking out the Church of Weeb again, and I will see you probably in the next 3 weeks when we get to episodes 7 to 9. So take it easy, everybody.